The Department of Defense is a mess. The Navy Secretary is out. But before we get into the meat of that, I want you to remember a story for the end of this video. An Army official named Andrew Hugg, whose job title is Branch Chief of Nuclear and Chemical Surety, was caught on camera at a bar telling a woman that he had just met that the easiest way to get intelligence is to send a pretty girl. He said this to the pretty girl, who happened to be an undercover journalist, who was literally getting intelligence from him while presumably being a pretty girl. The Army placed him on administrative leave the same day. And I want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we go to the main story here. We'll come back to the other one at the end. But the guy we are actually talking about is a guy who is virtually in charge of running the majority of the Iranian war. Navy Secretary John Phelan is out, effective immediately. He was canned by Pete Hegseth in the middle of the naval blockade of Iran. The reason, per reports out there, Phelan was moving too slowly on shipbuilding and had too much of a direct line to Donald Trump. A source told Axios that Phelan didn't understand that he wasn't the boss, that his job was to follow the orders given, not follow the orders he thinks should be given. Think about that. That's the Pentagon's public philosophy here. Not just follow orders, follow the orders you are given and do not follow the orders you think should be given. To me, that spells some dissonance between Trump and Hegseth. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to defend John Phelan. He's a billionaire campaign donor who Trump made Navy Secretary, despite the fact that this man had no shipbuilding experience, no naval experience. And good Lord, was the man weird. Go look up his weird art, the mirrored floors and everything. This guy had Mar-a-Lago access because his mansion is near Mar-a-Lago. He texted Trump about rust on warships. Rust. That was his big issue. Like a dad noticing the gutters loose on the side of a house. This man was a terrible pick. But that's not the point. The point is what the Pentagon said about why he's out. Follow orders. Don't follow the orders that you think should be given. That makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I want to take you back. Something we learned in 1946, the Nuremberg trial, the Nuremberg principles. The idea is that I was just following orders. It's not a legal defense for war crimes. A soldier, an officer, a cabinet secretary has an affirmative duty to refuse an illegal order. Mark Kelly and the rest of them were right. That's the whole point. That's the lesson we taught the rest of the world at the end of World War II. That is the standard that our own service members are trained on. So now, tell me what you think is happening when the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States are posting in public on Truth Social about obliterating Iran's civilization, about destroying civilian infrastructure like bridges and power plants, and praying for God to help them to win a war that has no stated objective beyond distracting the country from the Epstein files. Sure, prayer's fine. Asking God to help you do a thing that a court might call a war crime is an entirely different exercise. And every senior military official who has raised a question is gone now. Every military official left, per the Pentagon's own public explanation, is there to, quote, follow the orders given, not follow the orders he thinks should be given. Loyalty is all that matters. And by the way, this is another month of a war with no defined objective, no exit strategy, no congressional authorization, and no goal beyond burying the Epstein story under enough rubble that the media can't find it. Your gas is up. Americans are poor. Billions of tax dollars are gone. And of course, Trump is declaring victory roughly every 7 minutes on Truth Social, while simultaneously announcing all of his military targets on Truth Social. And just to show you how big of a mess the Department of Defense is, and it's not just at the top, it's all the way down. I'm going to get back to this Hugg story. Think about it. You have a guy in charge of nuclear surety telling an undercover reporter how the espionage game would work. while he's actively losing the espionage game.
That's why that's the easiest way to get intelligence. Like, just send a pretty girl, talk to the guy.
And you have the naval secretary getting fired for insufficiently rapid boat building in the middle of a war. You've got the Secretary of Defense posting prayer chains about obliterating a country, the president posting AI-generated pictures of himself as Jesus, and throwing tantrums along the way. This is exactly what we mean when we say the country is being run by people who shouldn't even be allowed to pump their own gas, much less run the largest military in human history. Do me a favor, leave me a comment about what you think about this Iranian war and how Pete Hegseth has ruined our military.